Hello, my name is Evan, and welcome to Economics 101, your number one source for everything economics. Today I want to make a couple of videos talking about some of the things that happened in the later part of last week and over the weekend. This video is specifically focused on the proposed tax cuts from Trump, which have been passed through the House of Representatives, and it looks like they're one step closer to the Senate being complete. So it looks like those tax cuts or those proposed tax cuts are actually gonna go into law here in a little bit, shortly. So I want to make a video kind of explaining the tax cuts, when they are expected to take effect and what that means for you and me. So before we do that, please like, share, and subscribe. And we're gonna go ahead and dive into the video. So to basically just get into it, these tax cuts are important because these tax cuts are going to impact both individuals as well as our federal budget. We have $4.5 trillion proposed tax cuts, $2.5 trillion worth of spending cuts, and just going to highlight real quick some of the things that are going to be in those tax cuts or the proposed tax cuts. It would be no tax on tips, no tax on overtime, no tax on Social Security income. We're also going to be extending, the proposal is also to extend the Tax Cut and Jobs Act, which went into effect in 2017, but is supposed to expire this year. Now, if that does expire, then of course our taxes will be going up for a lot of people's taxes will be going up. But that's pretty much the highlights of the $4.5 trillion tax cuts. You got a $2.5 trillion as far as spending cuts. We've talked a little bit about DOGE and how they're going to be cutting federal spending and government waste. But basically, you kind of got to understand, as far as when it comes to a balanced budget concerning our federal government, our government gets money two ways. First way, taxes. Second way is printing. So let's exclude printing for right now and just focus on taxes. The government only makes money if we're taxing people. In order to make up their loss, typically we print. So we're gonna exclude printing money for right now and just focus on the tax part of it. So you kind of got to think about the government, if you think about it from a business perspective. If we're bringing in money, a government department, just say any government department, federal government department, they're bringing in money. That means they're bringing in tax revenue. They're bringing in money from taxes. However, in 2024, we had almost a $2.5 trillion deficit. So basically what that means is the amount of taxes we're bringing in, we're spending way more than that. More money is going out. More money is more wasteful, mismanagement, fraud. All of that money is going out, and we're not bringing enough in for our taxes. So when you hear things about tax cuts, you automatically got to think, well, if we already spend more than we're bringing in taxes, if we're cutting taxes, then basically what that means is a higher budget deficit. If we're going to cut taxes, meaning we're cutting basically our income, how are we going to make up for that? And that's where the money printing goes into. And we'll go into that a little further and a little bit more in depth. But I want to bring light and to tell you, to show you that tax cuts can only be made up by printing money. As far as the Federal Reserve, they only make money two ways. They only get money coming in two ways. One is taxes. Two is by printing money, pretty much to make up that budget deficit spending. You'll hear a lot. You'll hear me say that a lot throughout the course of my videos. Two things I'm gonna focus on: that's inflation, budget deficits. You're gonna hear that a lot. So, like I said before, pretty much where we are, the House has already passed it. It's been approved. The Senate has drawn up a draft. It looks like they're just basically waiting for the House and the Senate to come together and propose one final draft. And it looks like all of those things are going to be included in that draft. So I'm gonna keep you update and let you know, but for the most part, it looks like it's a done deal. It looks like it's a wrap. What does this mean for us, for me and you, and for the average everyday American? Number one, what it means when we hear we're gonna have tax cuts, you got to look at it as budget deficit, which basically means an increase in inflation. I'm gonna try to simplify this, and I'm starting to understand where the misunderstanding or the confusion comes from by the average everyday person. And that's what I'm here to do, is break this down as much as I can, so to help you understand why this is a good thing or it's a bad thing, or you may not be affected by it. But tax cuts, when it comes to budget deficits, when it comes to government spending, we all are affected by this because we are the ones who pay the price for this. So let me help you understand how this works. Again, going back, federal governments get money two ways. We're just focusing on one. They get money by taxes, okay? If I'm cutting taxes, that means I have less revenue coming in. If I'm still spending more and more and more, so if a lot of money is still going out and now we're bringing in even less money, that means that I have to make up that balance somewhere. The government has to make that up. They make that up by basically printing the difference. So if I'm short, if my department is negative, let's just negative $1 million, typically what happens is the government will print in order to make that deficit or make that balance go away. So printing money, if we go back to my previous videos, is increasing the money supply, which equals inflation, okay? So let's step back just a second step back a second to recap. We cut taxes. Federal government cuts taxes. We got to make up that money somehow. More than likely, we're going to be making it up print money. Okay? If we print money, that basically is inflation. We're increasing our money supply, and as a result, prices will go up. So as a result of these tax cuts, the average everyday consumer, myself, you, whoever's watching this video typically, my videos are made specifically for the average everyday person. So not 95% of the population, your prices are gonna increase. That's bottom line. If we got tax cuts, that means increased budget deficits. That means increased government spending. That means increased inflation. That means prices go up eventually. That's just how it works. That's just how it is. So again, we're gonna go over this stuff. I'm gonna continue to beat this stuff over the head, but I really want people to understand this. And what I want to be able to do also is offer solutions.